So every single horror season we look at an entire series, and this year we're going to look at a series that I've wanted to talk about for a while because the original is one of my favourite 80s horror movies. It is Fright Night. Fright Night comes from the director of Child's Play in his directorial debut, and like that film, is a horror movie that is less scary than it is just simply entertaining and at times hilarious. The film is about Charlie, a 17-year-old high school student who is infatuated with horror movies. He especially loves a horror TV series called Fright Night, starring former movie vampire hunter Peter Vincent, whose name is a combination of Peter Cushing and Vincent Price. One day while hanging out with his girlfriend Amy, he notices his new next-door neighbors Jerry and Billy carrying a coffin into their house. He begins to believe that Jerry is a vampire, especially after finding out that a prostitute Jerry hired was found decapitated. However, no one believes him, including the police. The next night, Jerry breaks into Charlie's house and threatens him, telling him that he can either pretend that he isn't a vampire or be killed. However, Charlie fights him and Jerry runs away, telling him that he'll kill him later. Fearing for his life, Charlie visits Peter Vincent and asks for him to help kill the vampire. However, Peter ignores him, thinking that he's insane. But fearing for his sanity, Amy and Charlie's friend Evil Ed pay Peter to do a fake vampire test to make Charlie believe that Jerry isn't actually a vampire. While doing this, Peter accidentally discovers that Jerry doesn't cast a shadow and that he is in fact a vampire. Then the rest of the movie shows Jerry going after Charlie's friends and Charlie and Peter getting ready for one final battle against him. The plot is far from original or unique, but that is never a huge problem because of how entertaining the film is. The characters all have very distinct personalities and are all incredibly entertaining to watch, which is definitely a nice breath of fresh air considering most horror movies have incredibly cardboard supporting characters. The acting from everyone is fantastic, especially Chris Sarandon and Roddy McDowall as Jerry and Peter respectively. Chris Sarandon is an incredible villain in this movie. He's very menacing yet debonair, and in the early scenes where Charlie first gets threatened by him, he's really creepy. And Roddy McDowall does a fantastic job of playing this washed up actor who over the film has to become the confident character that he once played. His character goes through a huge transformation in the film, going from being very cowardly to being strong and poised, and he does a fantastic job of portraying this. The film came out in the middle of the slasher boom and it kind of feels like the antidote to it. It calls back to the classic Hammer horror films of the 60s and 70s, full of blood, sex and a kind of cheesy charm. I personally find vampire movies to be a little bit samey and boring, but this is one of the very few that really works for me. The basic elements of vampire movies haven't changed, the normal rules are still there. They haven't reinvented or updated really anything. The film is just so much fun and so well made that you don't really need anything to be fresh or new. Even before we get to the final battle, the film is hilarious and at the same time very suspenseful and tense. Like Child's Play, the film is very fast paced and doesn't let up till the very end. There are no slow moments, no moments of characters saying unneeded dialogue to pad out time. It keeps moving, everything feels important and justified, and that final battle in the film is incredibly well directed. It's exciting, tense, and at times quite scary. In many ways, the film is exactly what you'd expect from an 80s horror comedy. It's quite similar in tone to films like Gremlins, The Lost Boys, and The Monster Squad. It feels very 80s, everything from the synth-heavy soundtrack to the cheesy yet fantastic practical effects. The effects in this film are really impressive. There are so many impressive and memorable creature effects in the film. Images like the vampire bat at the end and the cross melting into Evil Ed's head are so iconic. There are so many shots and images in the film that will stick with you, and that's because of how well crafted everything is. So much love and care was put into every single shot of this film, and you can really tell. I honestly think this film has some of the best practical effects in a horror movie ever. Everything about this film is just fantastic. The direction is great, the effects are incredible, and even the acting is really good also. Although Tom Holland would go on to do Child's Play, another film that I'm a big fan of, I think this film is far better in every single way. I struggle to put into words how much I love this film. I just think that if you're a fan of 80s horror movies or vampires, this is just a must-see. I'll even go as far to say it's a must-see for anyone who likes horror movies in general, whether it's any decade. I give Fright Night a 10 out of 10.